Alright, all you music makers, video game players, entertainers, streetlight crusaders, listeners of the madness, and I guess a couple of you contestants from the Indie Radio Arcade, including all of the motorcade of cars that will most likely pass through town from all of the late night Saturday night activities through this town, along with the telemarketers that wish they could call in to interrupt this show. Welcome to the should have happened near Halloween edition of A Work in Progress. And with that long intro, you know who I am, and if you don't, I am your host from the East Coast, DJ Smokey, and man, oh man, what a wild 3 to 4 weeks we've had during the month of horror, heading directly into the instant classic month of November. And it's hard to believe how we were able to survive the month of horror with half of the data loss, and not only that, but the little bit of a trance I got into while doing the month of horror. You know, behind the scenes, what people don't know is the fact that I really do love doing horror stories and telling them to you, the fans at home, so much so that sometimes we get lost in those stories ourselves, which has happened more often than less and has been happening more often every year than less. So Maestro's getting that worried look on his face like I'm gonna somehow turn into Johnny Depp in that horror movie where he turned that girl into corn. No, I'm not gonna do that. And I don't even remember the name of that movie, but I do know Johnny Depp in that movie was a writer, and that was one of the horror movies of the week we were going to suggest to you guys, but we completely forgot. And another one that we were going to suggest to you guys, and we might as well pull up the list here, the one that starred the guy who played Frodo in Lord of the Rings, a movie he was in that was called Maniac. And it was a movie about a guy who collected the scalps of girls and put them on, well, I guess mannequins for his collection. It was a real weird movie we saw about at 3 a.m. in the morning and said, man, this movie is out there. People need to see this. Another movie suggestion that we had for you fans out there for the month of horror was a movie that we didn't know the name of, and hopefully you guys and gals out there know the name of it. You can put it in the comment section down below, because this movie has been bothering me for the longest amount of time. I went to movie experts and people who've seen 1,000 horror movies 1,000 times over, and they still don't know what I'm talking about. And it's this movie that, and I kid you not when I say this, two guys, or actually a guy and a girl, tried to go into this house to steal some form of object, only to get captured by these old women who were witches, who was gonna sacrifice this girl to whatever sort of thing they believed in. And the guy who was their assistant, or the witch's assistant, who was in this like medieval Viking-like outfit, would have this hallway trap that had spikes that come up from out of the ground, that if he pushes somebody towards it, the spikes activate and it leaves like some disco lights to go off. And there was this one scene also in the movie where this Russian guy, who would end up setting a booby trap for these witches who tried to capture him, would end up getting his arm cut off, and he's going down the hallway screaming, alpha male, trying to hype himself up to capture these witches. And I think he made it out alive along with the other two people, but all I know, end of the movie, a whole bunch of organs and body parts start raining from the ceiling, where the guys were sitting there, you know, watching the security footage saying that nothing was going on, and they would end up walking out of the building, the girl and the guy who originally went there in the first place. So if anybody knows what movie I'm talking about, just write it down in the description. I will give you a very detailed thank you letter, and you know, thank you. I mean, I wish I could give you something else, but a thank you letter will do if you're able to find out a movie that's been bugging me for well over 6 years. Yeah, a big thank you letter. And I think this movie came out on, Cinemax like right before we started doing Music Village, that's when it came out. But I don't remember the name of it. It's bugging me. But aside from those movie suggestions, folks, there was another one we had in mind, like a real old classic horror movie. I think it was The Bride of Frankenstein or something like that, because the Maestro likes those old school horror movies like I do. And I think he suggested that, Wolfman, and I guess the original Dracula film. Real good classic movies. Wish we could have mentioned them, but there's only so many weeks in the month of horror, so we had to go ahead and just leave them for next year or explain it to you guys for this week, or what we originally was going to do with a thermograph in the background with Maestro playing it is describe all these movies and tell you guys to go watch them for our Halloween special edition of A Work in Progress, but due to high winds, high rain, power outages, and I guess the fact that we've lost a major main file for Music Village that we've been using for 2 years now, yeah, we had to kibosh that completely. I mean, we should have done it a lot sooner than Halloween. It was supposed to be the weekend before the Indie Radio Arcade, but we got caught up with so many different things and trying to come up with cool horror stories for you fans out there, we completely forgot. Won't happen again. Hopefully. Won't happen again. And aside from that, speaking of horror movies, folks, one thing that I wanted to do in the near future, and hopefully once we happen to go on a broadcast show, we can actually do a chronological horror movie for you fans at home. I mean, not many people do it anymore. I mean, you don't see the Crypt Keeper out there because he's locked in HBO jail forever, and the fact that M. Night Shyamalan tried to bring him back, and unfortunately HBO blocked it, like I said, there's a void there that needs to be filled, and I want to be that guy to fill it. I mean, granted, there was Flavor Flav with his show Night Tales, I think it was? Yeah, Night Tales that Flavor Flav hosted, and I'm not sure if it's still on the air or not, but if it's not, we're available to fill that void for chronological stories that ultimately leads to the doom of the people who hear it, or the people who are in the vicinity who hears it, because that's what a chronological horror movie is basically all about. 3 to 4 stories that end up leading to the death of the characters who come along with them. And the 3 movie examples we have for that, I think is Tales from the Hood, Barrio Tales, Tales from the Crypt, and I think Tales from the Dark Side that we suggested to you fans at home. And yeah, spoiler alert ahead of time, but that's the premise of most of these, chronological order stories that you usually hear for horror films. And I think there's a couple of independent ones that I need to watch in the near future. And if you're out there on YouTube and have a couple of them for me to watch, I will suggest it to the people for next year or during the month of Independence in July. Or just for Music Village. Hey, I think that's what we should start doing. Like any independent thing we could find, just like we did for Postmodern Jukebox or any of those artists who comes up with cool stuff. We dig it up out of the ground and present it to you. And I don't know why am I holding my hand out like I'm holding that large diamond from the movie The Aristocats, but yeah, present it to you like that. But besides all of that, folks, we might as well move on to Phantasy Star Online Blue Burst news, since we're about a week and a half late on it. For any of you fans who don't know, currently the Halloween event is on. And for this year's Halloween event, for those who weren't able to participate in it, not only you get a chance to get the Ultima Reaper, you get a chance to get the Chromatic Orb, the Banana Cannon, the Vampire Cloak, which I'd never heard of, the Garrisol, the Jack-O-Lanterns, the contents from the Jack-O-Lanterns, which is anything ranging between the Mag of 213, the Mag of 502, the Heart of Choo Choo, And don't blow that whistle horn, Maestro. It's choo-choo as in the character. Then Heart of Opa Opa, Heart of Kapu Kapu, Heart of Chow, parts of Robo Chow, Heart of Plane, or is that Pain? Nope, Heart of Plane, and Pioneer parts along with the Halo Soul, which allows you to turn your red ring into a multitude of different objects, including a rainbow ring. Now, I don't see the appeal in it because it doesn't give you any status effects, but at the same time, a lot of people like it and they're willing to pay top dollar for it. So, if you get one, you can get a lot of photon drops for it. And for those who are wondering what this chromatic orb makes, well, the Garrisol turns into the Infernal Garrisol, the red sword into the Crimson Sword, the S-Beat blade turns into the Macho blades, which gives the ability for robot characters or cast characters in that game to cast, I guess, Jellin and Zelier? Or the other one, Shifter in the Band. Thank you, Maestro. Shifter in the Band that you can be able to cast on yourself without the help of a force in the game, which is very helpful. And the last object that can be transformed in this game from the chromatic orb is the Rage de Fou into the Rage de Glace, or the Rage de Glace. You know what? That one sounds better. And a couple of other objects you can get from the Halo Soul is the Bunny costume, the Cat Scratch Fever, what, Ted Nugent? Moving on, and finally the Guardian Angel, along with the Elvis costume, the Beubs costume, which is, I think, a watermelon earring set, the Minecraft costume, and finally the original Red Ring. And according to what the Maestro said, each one of those things have different status effects for force classes out there, which ranges from not only Resta and anti-boost, but also boost to your different effects and status changes. Or, status... What is that word, Maestro? The ability to actually... Oh yeah, resistances. Thank you. And one of the last objects you can get, which comes with the Rico's sunglasses, is the Agent K costume. So for you Men in Black fans out there, you can get a pair of cool sunglasses. And for any of you out there wondering the long list of where you can hunt these items, you can find that out on the forum site for FantasyStarOnline.net on their forum page known as, well, FantasyStarOnline.net. See, I would go through the long list of enemies for that, but it's available for all IDs, and all you have to do to go get them is neither from Episode 1 or Episode 2 in the ruins, or the spaceship, or the temple to get these said objects for yourselves. So good luck, happy hunting, and I'll be rooting for you. And speaking of hunting, folks, after a long, and I do mean long, end of the month journey, we were finally able to get one of the swords we were looking for on our master list to become the king of swords. And the sword we were able to get thanks to R78 was none other than the Master Sword. It may have taken me a full year to try to find this sword, and missing the event by only 4 days when I first joined, but we finally were able to get this sword in our hands, and it lives up to the hype. Not only it is a good replacement for any of you who weren't able to get the sealed J sword or the TJS itself, but it also comes with several different boosts for magic characters and can be used by all characters around the board, which is very helpful if you got a foe and always wanted to use a sword substitute until you get the Ultima Reaper in later stages. And it was found out, and probably one of the coolest things that the best foe I know, known as Corvo, was able to tell us, that you can actually boost Medjed with the Ultima Reaper, which is another cool feature that I recommend you foes out there try to use that weapon to the fullest. And if you're wondering out there, in a little bit of side news from Phantasy Star Online, I was actually able to find the Ultimate Reaper with a 40% chance to cause instantaneous death to enemies, which I think after I untech the item, it's about 50% now. Yikes. And I wasn't even trying to look for it. I was trying to help a friend out who wanted an Ultima Reaper with a hit, and he was able to find the said weapon, but didn't get the hit, but I found it later on with a hit that was even better than what he hoped for. But I was gonna give it away, but at the same time I said I'll keep it just in case another one of my characters need him, which chances are in the near future they probably would. But back to the major accomplishment at hand, folks, of that said sword. What I forgot to tell you guys at home, I had to save up approximately 140 photon drops to get that said weapon, which required me to do the quest Mysteries of the Void at least 138 different times throughout the course of October all the way into the early stages of November to get that said item. And I would personally like to thank not only these, but also I do believe Tunlele, who was also able to help me get that said weapon. I keep forgetting the actual name that they use on the forums, but still, thank you guys. Seriously, from the bottom of my heart for this impossible mission seen by all to help me out to get closer to my ultimate goal of collecting all the top 5 swords in this game. I really, really thank you. And for those who are keeping track at home, I only have one sword left to capture in the form of the Lanconium Axe. And apparently I would have to fight a giant snake knight monster from Beetlejuice to capture it, but I would have to wait until the next event, which I think is the Christmas event where people get a chance to get the parasitic gene flow, which is the key weapon you need, or the key part you need to make the dark flow sword. And by that time, this show will be celebrating its 1-year anniversary along with the 5-year anniversary for Under the Radar. Man, how time flies. And I don't know where has the time gone, but it's really going by quick. And to further the scary thought of how time has flown by, next week will be my sister's birthday, and the week after that will be mine, and we should be able to have a very special birthday edition, hopefully live for a couple of you fans to listen into for, just like this one is now, for you guys to listen in to a very special birthday edition of A Work in Progress. Yeah. It's a goal of mine that I have on a list right here, including with on that list of me going to the train museum finally after well over 20 years. I think it was 24 years, but yeah, 20 years. We'll just go with that just to be safe. And besides all of that good news from the world of Phantasy Star Online Bluebirds, a couple of other things we were able to find online, thanks to these once again, was able to find not only a kill count mod, also a mod for EXP to check out the EXP meter on the top, enemy information, and even a couple of things to check the items that are on the floor, which were pretty good mods that a whole bunch of people were able to find, and that is legal to use in the world of Phantasy Star Online Bluebirds. And I had to make sure of that first before I hear someone say when I use them, "Cheater! He's a cheater! Quick, get him!" Or like that line from Family Guy when they said, "Hey, over there, guys, that's a big fat phony." And I don't want anybody to say that about me, so nah. We had to make sure they were legal for use, and yes, they are. And for those who wants to use those said mods, they are available on the forum page for FantasyStarOnline.net. And aside from all of that news, another story we wanted to cover was from the world of, I do believe, Guild Wars 2, a world we haven't been a part of for the longest amount of time, but definitely wanted to cover because they recently got through with their Mad King event that I always wanted to participate in, but for some strange reason were caught up with other things behind the scenes and couldn't play it. Yep, we missed it once again. Not only we were able to miss that giant oversized maze that I promised to conquer, but we also missed out on the jump puzzle for the clock tower, and especially one of the most popular games of the Mad King Says, which is basically Simon Says, and if you don't follow the rules, you get turned into a piece of candy or something like that. I never did it to find out, but those were the rumors I was told for that said game, so I stayed away from it like the plague. And in other news from other news from the game we just mentioned of Guild Wars 2, for any of you out there waiting for that next big chapter from that game, it will be available as of Tuesday, November 19th, for episode 1, which is Whisper in the Dark, which for some strange reason reminds me of that Frank Sinatra song of Dancing in the Dark, and for some strange reason I'm hearing it in my head right now with the piano part, and for another strange reason I think I'm doing the waltz with some mysterious girl in a red dress dancing in the moonlight. I need to stop this. I'm really starting to freak the maestro out, so I'm gonna cut it out. Alright? I'm gonna cut it out. And in other news, besides video game news, folks, for you fans out there of the popular game of SingStar for both the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 3, unfortunately, as of 11:59 GMT, yeah, the servers will be shutting down on January 31st at 11:59, heading directly into February. And for those for PlayStation 4, you have nothing to worry about. You can re-download the game at any time. But unfortunately for you last-gen users out there, yeah, it's been announced that you will not be able to recover any of the songs that you recently sung or DLC packs from the PlayStation Store after January 31st at 11:59 at night. Now, I'm not sure if that's entirely fair, but I truly do understand it, even though it's unfair, probably because of the technology, or somewhat. I don't know. Either way, I think they should make it even for everybody to actually download it at the same time for their stuff if they happen to lose it, and not having to go to a next-gen console to try to get it back. But, them's the breaks. Them's the breaks. And in other bad news for you fans out there who uses the Roku devices, unfortunately as of December 1st, these following Roku devices will be unable to be used with your television sets and will be obsolete. Along the lines of the Roku 2000C, Roku 2050X, Roku 2100X, the Roku HD, SD, XD, and XR, and any other Roku devices that cannot autoplay the next episode will all be obsolete as of the 1st of December. And along with it, Samsung TVs from 2010 and 2011 TVs with a C or D in the model code will not support Roku anymore, or more or less Netflix at this case. So yeah, for those who have any of those models that we just listed, you have another couple of more days, or a couple more weeks, to change over your said Roku device, or change over any of the TVs you have to get Netflix on them, or else you will not be able to have them for those TVs or said devices that we listed. Now, since we're completely backwards here for this week, folks, we forgot to mention the reason why in the world these things are not going to be available as of December 1st of this year of 2019, just in case somebody listens in the past and thinks this is 2020 or 2021 and think we got the year wrong. Well, the reason why in the world they're doing this is because of technical limitations. Is the reason why in the world as of December 1st, they are no longer gonna have any of the items that we listed available for your said devices for Netflix. Now, I think Maestro over in the corner thinks I'm going to read off rejected or, callback baby carriages next, but no, I'm not. That was just the only major news thing that we had for this week, besides some other guy in California jumping on the rooftop of, I guess, old Cadillacs and losing his news job. And yeah, that's bad. And I don't want to mention the guy's name because he's already feeling bad enough about it himself, so we're just gonna move on to something a little bit more exciting in the video game world, folks, which is more cool games from Octocurio's page. And as a matter of fact, you know what, Maestro? That's what we're gonna call this name of the show, or this part of the show right now, Games from Octocurio's page. Now, we thought we had something a lot more creative in the past 2 weeks we've been off the air. Nope, no we didn't. And the first game we have up comes from the Twitter page of EWE_no with their game Isle of Ewe. Or Ewe? I don't know how to say it right, but either way, folks, with the screenshots that they have for this week for this said game, it automatically reminds me of sheep in the big city. And that and a little hint of that dog Ralph from the classic Looney Tune cartoons who always protected the sheep. And in the last picture the Maestro showed, it actually shows this little girl actually hugging one of the sheep before the cameras fade to black. Now, isn't that cute? But it's wrong! I always wanted to bust out that two stupid dogs line, and I thought it was gonna be during one of the end of the episodes for this Instant Classic month, but what better time than now? And the next game that we have up to get things back on track comes from the website of, or more or less the Twitter page of On2 Game with their game On2? I thought I was gonna say, On to the End. Thank you, Maestro, for the correction. And this game with the screenshots they provided reminds me a little bit of God of War, the most recent version where he was in the snow in a giant Goofy movie version of his adventures with his son. And in reality, that's what the God of War game that recently came out reminds me of. A Goofy movie with a lot of violence and a lot of you gotta learn how to do this yourself, boy, sort of action in the game. And the only thing I hope for in the near future for this game, besides the different amount of weapons that you can use to take out your enemies, is also, I guess, a Morning Star. The only thing I hope for, because not many games use it. Not even Dark Souls from the last time I checked. And that's another game on my must-to-play list that I want to play most likely before the end of the next decade. Because I don't think I'm going to get it before the end of this decade, so moving along to the next game, folks. And the next game we have up comes from the Twitter page of Vivid Helix with their game, Neon Noodles. Nice. And the pictures for this game automatically reminds me of a big robotic version of Mahjong. And I used to be pretty good at Mahjong, so if it's anything like that, I should be alright. So here's hoping in the near future for this game with these tiny tinkering robots that are building a puzzle field that you may have to solve. Here's hoping in the near future that you get a chance to actually change the colors of the robots for this game. Cause I got a feeling that's probably the only major thing you could do besides solve all these puzzles. So yeah, change the color of the robots, or at least modify the robots to make the puzzles at a faster speed to beat your opponent. And the next game that we have up, and I think we talked about this before, but hey, never hurts to talk about it more than once, comes from the creator Pigeon Simulator with their game, Pigeon Simulator. And unfortunately, they really don't have the Twitter page of the creator down here, but they do have a couple of crazy screenshots of birds dive bombing on people and wearing, I guess, bread on their face and throwing tiny toy cars at people and getting punched in the back of the head. What kind of game is this? And like I said before, folks, this game automatically reminds me of Goodfellas, or Good Feathers, the little tiny segment they used to have during the classic show of Animaniacs. Yeah, need to go watch that after the show too, Maestro. So, set a reminder and write it down and put it in one of the books over in the corner. Thank you. And the last but not least game that we have up for this week comes from OctoCurio's page of different forms of cool games, with the game that he found as a screenshot only known as I Am the Fish. Not bad. And this game automatically reminds me of Finding Nemo, with a classic episode of Tom and Jerry mixed in there as well, with a little hint of Marble Madness. Seeing the fact that you have to go downstairs in different forms of objects to make your way back to the ocean. Yeah, definitely reminds me of Marble Madness. And speaking of Marble Madness, Maestro, did we ever tell a video game story for that game? No? Well, in the near future, we will. And most likely around the month of madness, if we hit a milestone around that time. So, write that down too. See, not only this show is weird and random as all hell, it's a thought process for me when I don't have my notebook close to hand. So, yeah, write that down. And if you guys want to check out any other cool and crazy games that is featured on the wall of frames of the wall of frame of screenshot games that is on OctoCurio's giant oversized Twitter page, you can head on over to the Twitter page of one man only known as OctoCurio to check it out for yourselves. And with those cool, and I do mean cool, screenshots out of the way, folks, we now head on over to the high scores for this week. And oh my god, come on, give me a break. Folks, the reason why I'm saying that is because the first high score that we have up just literally destroyed the high score that we mentioned during the beginning of the Indie Radio Arcade, set by none other than Omar Gettin with his high score, and I kid you not, folks, of 44,574,250. In the Pinball Classic game for the Game Boy Advance of Pinball Advance under the Daredevil level with only 5 balls under hard difficulty. And we just talked about a pinball game for the Video Game Stories to start off this Instant Classic month. Or most likely the second story we told for this month. We're getting our days real mixed up because we forgot that we started off the month with Music Village, so yeah, don't listen to us on that regards. But the next high score that we have up once again comes from Omar Gettin with his high score of 791,400 for the Nintendo game of Pop in Twin B for the Game Boy. Nice. Next high score we have up after that, once again from Omar Gettin with his high score of 90,070, a part of the Android game of Paper Pear Saga under level 88 for the Android. Not bad. Next high score that we have up after that comes from Jess with his high score of 336,260, a part of the classic arcade game of Gundhara Judan Ashari. Yeah, Gundhara Jahan Ashari. I'm not sure if I woke up some sort of ancient beast if I wrote it wrong, but yeah. There you go. That's the game he got the high score in. So moving along so I don't embarrass myself any further. from the high-scoring gamer known as Buttons with his high score of 962,400 from the Xbox 360 game of Pinball Hall of Fame, the Williams Collection under the Sorcerer level. Man, a lot of pinball games this month, and last month, and the month before. Have no problem with it, but still, a lot of pinball games. And the next high score that we have up comes from GB Pixel with his high score of 29,634 for the classic game of Quicks Kickers. Never heard of it, but I heard of the Atari Lynx. I think AJ Styles owns that. And the last but not least high score that we have up for this week, since we gotta save a couple of these for the Indie Radio Arcade this next upcoming weekend, comes from the gamer known as Awesome Ogre with his high score of 12,000 for the Atari 2600 game of Aqua Adventure. And I gotta give a lot of these gamers credit for going to the old school TV sets, the tube television sets. The fact that they're able to play these on those said tube television sets shows you the dedication they have for these games. And if you guys want to check out any of the cool high scores that are currently trying to make their way to the Twitter pages as we speak, or even try to make high scoring history for yourselves, you can head on over to the Twitter page of one man only known as @HighScore, or head on over to their website known as highscore.com to win cool prizes for your high scores. And like we say on every single one of the shows that features high scores, is a fair trade. It really is. And the high score thus far for this month that I got a feeling won't be toppled comes from Omar Gettin with his high score of 44,574,250 for the classic Game Boy Advance game of Pinball Advance under the Daredevil level with only 5 balls under hard difficulty. And I got a feeling if my sister here that somebody got a high score in pinball, that Pinball Wizard mode in her head's gonna click off and she's gonna try to beat that too. So I'm not gonna be surprised if I see a high score in the near future for my sister eventually on this for pinball. Probably somewhere in the 100 millions. Neither that or from my Uncle Denny, because he's another one of those pinball wizards too. And I think I have a video game story for that in the near future too, for a classic game that got in the, I guess, Video Game Hall of Fame either this year or last year for that Windows XP game of Pinball Madness or Space Pinball. I think that's what it's called. Either way, there will be a video game story for it in the near future as well, and write that down too, Maestro. But besides all the future video game stories that are starting to bubble up in my head since we're trying to cover lost ground from the list that we lost from the end of October toward the beginning of November, I think it's time to ease my woes by checking out a whole bunch of cool and beautiful houses from you independent gamers out there from the Sims 3 universe for another edition of the lifestyles of the digitally rich and famous. And I've been waiting 2 weeks to share a couple of these houses with you folks, so the first house that we have up comes from the creator Cameron's 1000, nice name by the way, with their said house, Mr. Steel Family. And this massive, and I do mean massive house that comes with, I do believe at least, well, from my building expertise, can come with at least 6 bedrooms and 3 bathroom-like house that not only comes with a garage, but also a stable for your horses. That's how big this house is. And it also comes with a swimming pool and even a makeshift maze for you to wander the days away in for yourselves. which is insane how big this house is. And also, just to let a couple of you know, the lot size for this said house is 64 by 64, and it comes with a beautiful fountain in the front. It's ridiculous. The fact that I was able to find this house on the open market is absolutely insane. And for any of you who wants to build upon this said house, there is plenty of room to build upon it, and even a chance for you to add another car to the multi-car garage you already have. And if you're skillful enough, you can even turn that into a house too. Yeah, like I said before, plenty of room to work with, and you can even build the basement in it if you have the ambitions pack. So you're ready and set to go for this if you have everything in line. So definitely a go-getter house if you're looking for a major expansion to live into. Best way to describe it. And in another big grande sort of house-like mode, folks, comes from the creator SJG2911 with his said house, Land Gold Land Graph. And this house, I got a feeling, is probably one of the biggest houses we were able to talk about in the lifestyles of the digitally rich and famous history. But for the, I guess, right reasons or wrong reasons. Maestro's a little bit confused on this one because he said this house has to be one of the most obnoxious houses you've seen, with the fact that it comes with one of those big oversized Hollywood driveways, a 4-car garage, 6 bedrooms, 2 kitchens, and I do believe 2 other bathrooms that are included in this said home, along with a swimming pool and what appears to be a garden in the back of this house as well. And I, for one, even though I would say this house has a lot of room for you to actually add upon it, it's so beautiful, you don't need to. And it also comes with a fence to protect against zombies if you have the supernatural pack, or if you run into deer or any annoying neighbors who tries to come into your home, they would have to go through this giant oversized fence, which is not happening. And I think all you need for this house now is a butler and some form of giant limousine parked out front to show how truly rich you are to truly complete the set for this said home. So prepare to spend a lot of money if you plan on living in this house, whether it be rent-wise or trying to get in this house, because I do believe the price to live here, since it's on 60 by 60 land and because of the size of the house itself, I'm gonna ballpark it around anywhere from $300,000 to $500,000 to live in. So save up while you can, and you'll be able to live in this house most likely by the time you turn into a young adult. Yeah, best estimation. And the next house that we have up comes from the creator Tracy Yap, or Tracy AP. We'll go with that one, with their said house, the Dark Red House. Now, for some strange reason, I'm reminded of that classic Jimi Hendrix song, and for another reason, I'm reminded of Red Velvet Cake when I stare at this house. Because not only it has a dark red swimming pool, a dark red house setup, but also a dark red garage, a dark red swing set in the back, and also comes with 6 bathrooms, disco room, in the basement, which I got a feeling Dan the Weatherman Stu's gonna love, 2 swimming pools, and a laundry room, along with, I do believe 4 bedrooms to go along with it, and even a living room and a kitchen along with this said house. And I, for one, love this house because it comes with a 3-car garage and a house on top of it, which is perfect for the family I'm living with now that is a band that is still Kafka Steel. Yeah, so this house is perfect for those guys, with the exception of the swimming pool, because none of them knows how to swim. And I really do appreciate the red carpeting that he decided to add. Good job. And the disco room I cannot wait to see again because I think I got in a dance contest in that too. Yeah, weird house, but definitely a beautiful house if you decide to live in it. And as a little bit of a bonus, folks, this house is built on 64 by 64 property, and some of the items from this house does come from the exchange page. So make sure you head over there to find out which items that you need to get to live in this said house. And the next house that we have up comes from the creator once again, Tracy AP, with her house, The Red House. And this house was featured on the PS3 version of The Sims 3 that is just a little bit smaller than her dark red house, which now comes with a living room, kitchen, 4 bedrooms, 4 bathrooms, and still the standard disco room, and now a 2-car garage with an over fancy fountain in the front. And I, for one, still appreciate the red theme for this said house, and it does give you a lot of room to build upon with a fence that protects you from zombies, and once again, a disco room just in case you got that promotion or any sort of thing that you have in your life going on in this game that is worth celebrating. It's just not bad. And not to mention, since it's in a basement, no noise complaint from the neighbors. Alright? And the next house that we have up comes from the creators, Indie Kid 28, nice name by the way, man, with his said house, Maison Bleu No CC. Is that French? I don't know. Maestro, is that French? We're not going to try to figure it out, folks, because this house comes with not only 2 adult rooms, but also a kid room, 3 bathrooms, a laundry room, and even a garden in the back. And for some strange reason, when I was staring at this house, it reminds me of the Addams Family. Ew. And that's not in a bad way, folks, because this house, besides looking like something that would most likely be featured in the Addams Family or during Beetlejuice, because Maestro just put up a sign that said Beetlejuice, and I'm not going to say his name again to unleash that fury during this show, but yeah, definitely a cool house to live in that is on a 30 by 30 property, and also you can build further upon this said house going upwards and even add a basement to this said house if you look to, I guess, get away from the zombies that may or may not be summoned on this said property. I mean, come on, Maestro, look at it. It looks like the house that chances are if a zombie attack starts, this would be the first house they go after screaming, "Brains! Brains!" Well, besides that future zombie attack and training, folks, the next house and the last but not least house that we have up for this week comes from the creator, Quell1983, nice name and year by the way, with their said house, My First Home. And this beautiful and somewhat countryside looking home that comes with 2 separate stories, 1 bedroom and 2 baths with a beautiful master suite included with it, really does have a classic look to it. And to make things even better, it also comes with a classic pickup truck that you could use to get from place to place for this said house. So not only it's built on a 30 by 30 land, folks, but it also comes with its own classic pickup truck and this beautiful house that also comes with a jacuzzi as well. Nice. It reminds me of one of those Tex Avery Home of Tomorrow houses that looks classic on the outside, but I have a feeling has a lot of futuristic technology on the inside. What do you think, Maestro? He says maybe. Maybe. Right. And if you guys want to check out any of these other cool homes that are put on high display on the exchange page, you can go ahead and head on over to the Sims 3 exchange page, only known as thesims3.com, and just click ever so lightly on that exchange page to check out a couple of beautiful homes that'll make you have 8-bit caviar wishes and 9-bit champagne dreams. Or more or less 10-bit champagne dreams with how big these properties are, because they're huge. They really are. And I think by the Indie Awards, and I think I said this already, we will most likely have an impromptu commercial featuring the House of the Year that we will put up on our personal Sims 3 exchange page with a giant star on it saying House of the Year in the comment page. Since we can't really give them a physical award, we'll give it to them on our page. That's a little bit of a thank you for being so creative. So, good luck to all you house creators out there. And our House of the Week, thank you for reminding me, Maestro, goes to none other. And a little bit of a drum roll, Maestro. No, we don't have it this week. We're saving it for the Indie Awards. Right. Our House of the Week goes to none other than My First Home by Quell 1983. And if you're wondering at home why in the world this house got picked over all of the other beautiful, and I mean oversized beautiful houses, it's because this house for some strange reason has that classic feel to it that the other houses doesn't. And not to mention, if he was able to create this house on his first try, can you only imagine what he's gonna create in the future once he hit his 10th house? Yeah, it makes you wonder, right? Yeah, it really does. So like we said before, folks, keep on creating, keep on moving, and we can't wait to see what you got planned for houses for the Indie Award. And that was louder than all hell in my ear, Maestro, but I get the message. It's just about that time for us to go now, isn't it? Man, I wish you turned that thing down. You're gonna make me deaf. I don't want to be Beethoven. But besides that little bit of a ringing that's still in my ear right now, folks, it's just about that time for us to wrap things up before neither the battery on the computer runs out or before the stampede of cars from inner town comes rushing out to go home from their late night drinking and partying. But don't worry. If you missed anything, and I do mean anything for this week's edition of the show, you can catch it again one more time, all the time, on our SoundCloud, Facebook, or even Tumblr pages, all named the same, only known as Music Village Radio under the hashtag A Work in Progress 21. And as a matter of fact, that's blackjack. And I think, oh yeah, Maestro right on the table right here left the Ace of Spades and the King of Hearts, the ultimate blackjack in my book. And if you guys want to figure out other crazy and zany things that we still got prepared for this month of instant classicness, like a perfect hand for blackjack no matter which way you slice it, you can go ahead and check it out on our YouTube and Twitter pages that are still named the same, only known as the Double O Agent, Double O12. And before we head out for the night, we would like to thank, as always, you the fans out there for listening into another random as all hell makeup show edition of A Work in Progress. And alongside with them, we would also like to thank you, the independent artists out there, for delivering that musical goodness like you always do. And keep up the great work, guys, and we can't wait to hear what sort of musical goodness you got planned in the near future for this show and for others. Yeah, because we got plans in the near future for you guys. Really do. And we would like to thank our musical guest for the night, none other than Tekno AXE with his song Street Walk Manifesto that was featured during the intro and going to be featured once again for the outro for this week's edition of A Work in Progress. And I think at this point, like we said many a times before, this should be the official theme song for the show, and I got a feeling it will be. Well, after using it for about 21 episodes, it is. It really is. And finally, last but not least, besides theme songs for the show, folks, we would like to thank you, the independent gamers out there, for all those sweet, sweet video game hits, clips, and beautiful homes that we had a chance to mention during this week's show. And as always, keep those games and those beautiful homes a-coming, cause in another 3 months, you may see them featured during the Indie Awards. And for those who don't know what the Indie Awards is, it's a mock award show we have every February, 2 weeks after our year anniversary for Music Village, leading into, I guess, the big old reset button for things that we do for Music Village and all of the other shows that we do on a weekly basis. So it should be fun, and we hope to see you there. And with everybody thanked, you guys out there, now we go out. I'm DJ Smokey, flanked alongside with the maestro as always, saying, when there's smoke, there's fire. And we hope to see you again, most likely in another 2 weeks for a special birthday cake edition of A Work in Progress. But until then, folks, enjoy the rest of your weekends or whatever sort of day you're listening into this show. And good night, everybody.
Walk down the street, saying hello to the people I meet, and I'm killing my love underneath the sun, triggering down like the smoking gun. Yeah, I ain't got no plans, just a rusty voice and an empty gas can. My car's broken down a mile behind, and I've got my life set on rewind, baby. I ain't got no plans, just a rusty voice and an empty gas can. My car's broken down a mile behind, and I've got my life set on rewind, baby. Walk down the street, saying hello to the people I meet, and I'm killing my love underneath the sun, triggering down like the smoking gun. Yeah, I ain't got no plans, just a rusty voice and an empty gas can. My car's broken down a mile behind, and I've got my life set on rewind, baby. I ain't got no plans, just a rusty voice and an empty gas can. My car's broken down a mile behind, and I've got my life set on rewind, baby. da da